Hunters spend countless hours trying to erase their own existence. They mask their scent, wear specialized camouflage, and sit completely motionless in freezing temperatures while the sun comes up. You endure the elements to see the wilderness before it realizes you are there. The goal is to observe the landscape without leaving a single trace of your presence. But walking miles into dense, uninhabited timber removes you from any form of help. You are trading the safety of a community for total isolation. The methods used to stay hidden from animals, moving silently and staying still, work just as well for anyone else who might be watching you. Take a 180-acre private hardwood forest in western Pennsylvania. Two brothers, Nathan and Cole, had hunted their family's land for years. They knew every trail, every clearing, and exactly where all 4 permanent tree stands were located. That familiarity vanished on a pre-dawn hike when Nathan's headlamp caught something metallic in the canopy. It was a homemade tree stand that ignored every rule of hunting. It wasn't angled toward a deer trail. It was facing directly inward, pointing straight at the brothers' campsite. Climbing up to investigate, Nathan found a plastic storage box beneath the seat. Inside was a surveillance log. A handwritten notebook detailed the exact times the brothers arrived the day before, and even noted the precise minute Cole left the tent to use the bathroom at 1:13 in the morning. The brothers immediately packed up to leave, only to discover their physical space had already been breached. Nathan's folding chair had been dragged 20 feet to the edge of the tree line, facing their tent. Resting squarely on the seat was the notebook they had just left up in the tree. While frantically loading their ATV, Cole spotted the observer. High up on a ridge overlooking the camp was a third, previously unnoticed tree stand. Sitting among the pine branches was a silent figure, simply watching them flee. This stranger had used the elevation of the ridge to turn the brothers' campsite into an observed space. By mapping their movements and monitoring their camp from above, the stalker took control of the terrain. In northern Minnesota, an experienced hunter named Eric was using fresh overnight snowfall to track a large, wounded buck through dense brush. Following a heavy blood trail for nearly a mile, he finally located the deer lying behind a fallen spruce. But the animal was stiff, its fur was partially frozen, and it lacked any fresh gunshot wound. The blood trail led to an animal that had been dead for days. Attached to the carcass was a weathered orange hunting tag. It carried the name Thomas Keller, a local hunter who vanished in that region. The date written on the tag was December 6th, the exact same day Eric was standing there, but the year was 2013, exactly 5 years earlier. Eric looked down. Starting directly beside the frozen deer were fresh human footprints in the snow. They were made by bare feet. Eric began a fast retreat toward his vehicle. As he moved through the dense spruce, he realized he was being shadowed. Every time he took a step, he could hear someone moving parallel to him through the trees. When he stopped, the footsteps stopped. He eventually broke through the tree line and reached the parking area. Sitting alone in the snow was a strange, rusted pickup truck. Dangling from the rearview mirror was another weathered orange hunting tag. Whoever was in those woods understood Eric's process. By staging a 5-year-old tag and a frozen carcass, they didn't just stumble upon him. They used a physical trail to pull Eric to a specific point in the woods. In remote Colorado, Jake and his father relied on handheld radios as their primary way to stay in contact while separated across a valley. On their second morning, a strange man's voice broke through the static on their private channel. He called Jake by name and told him not to move because someone was standing right behind him. When Jake spun around to find empty timber, the stalker proved he was watching. The voice noted Jake's blue backpack and let out a single, quiet laugh, mocking his attempt to hide. The voice then tried to impersonate Jake's father, attempting to lure him up an exposed ridge. But the stranger didn't know Jake's childhood nickname, and he couldn't answer the emergency identification code they have used for years. Jake and his father united and hiked quickly back to their truck. They locked themselves inside, assuming they were finally away from the voice on the radio. Then Jake's radio crackled with a whisper, telling him he forgot one. Sitting on the back seat of their locked vehicle was a third, identical radio. Written across the back in thick black marker was the name Jake. The stalker had bypassed every defense the hunters had. They breached their line of sight, infiltrated their private channel, and finally accessed their locked vehicle to leave a physical message. Realizing you aren't alone in the deep woods forces a shift in perspective. You go from observing the landscape to realizing you are the one being observed. Hunters are trained to look for broken brush and animal tracks. They are prepared for nature, but not for tree stands pointed at their tents or radios placed inside their locked vehicles. When another person weaponizes the isolation of the forest, the expertise you brought to the hunt doesn't matter anymore. You are no longer looking for an animal. You are trying to navigate a threat you cannot see. Because sometimes the silence of the forest isn't a sign that you are alone. It's simply the sound of someone holding their breath, waiting for you to turn your back.